everyone's looking for the young guy. They're looking for McVay. I think take a shot out Todd Bowles, get him a second shot at head coach, and see if he can do it.
I don't think they will. If they don't have Anthony Davis, I'm saying it right now. If Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
It's crazy. And our kids will know how great Tom Brady is because he's going to be playing.
Yes, it is 15.0%.
That's what the Yankees brought Garrett Cole to do.
He was a 6th-round pick. This is a fairy tale story that's being written in front of our eyes.
People like to call them their JV team, and they just stole one of their better players.
They didn't struggle against the Padres. The Padres didn't really put up a fight in most of the games.
Jerry Jones, hope you're listening.
Hi, I'm Landon Bowe, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. We've already started talking about the season starting up in a few days, but with the season starting, there comes expectations, and now Austin and I have one player under the most pressure, and then we have an honorable mention. So 2 guys from each of us. I'll let the man that I already mentioned, Austin, and my co-host mention his name first.
So we'll start with our honorable mentions, and I'll let you do yours. My honorable mention, Kevin, is Luka Doncic. I do think he's under a lot of pressure this year because I think by how good he did last year in the regular season, people expect that. And I don't know if you could do that multiple times. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you do 33, 9, and 9 multiple times. I know he's so good, but I think he may underperform compared to what some people think. Not necessarily as a player, but because you have so many good guys on your team. I don't think he's going to match last season's totals. But he's made it to now 2 conference finals, 1 finals, and he did not play well in the finals. Agreed?
Yeah, and he struggled in which playoffs? The Thunder playoff series as well.
He also he struggled in the Clippers series.
Oh, yeah, and the Clippers one as well.
He only really had one really good series, and that was against the T-Wolves.
Yeah, and I'm glad you bring him up because that was the guy I was really debating. I'm like, do I think Luka's under a lot of pressure? Because from the media as well, yes, he does have a problem with refs, and that was something that came up in all of those playoff series. The thing, though, was he was dealing with a lot of injuries throughout the season, which I think could go to, I wouldn't be opposed if he took a little bit of a step back where he's not going full out. And I'm very curious. You talked about this is the best roster he's had by far. He had it at the after the trade deadline. I am very interested to see if his numbers go down just because he's not being used as much. The Mavs now have a legitimate backup point guard in Spencer Dinwiddie. They did have 2 with, oh my goodness. Why am I forgetting his name? Oh my goodness. He's injured now, but, oh man. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. So he's not going to be playing. He's not going to have that much of usage. But yeah, he definitely is under a lot of pressure. There is the defense, which was not well done or not well played in the finals. I would argue because of his injuries, but he's also a guy that he has to put a lot of effort in the offensive end, and he will take off defensive possessions. Oh, I'm thinking of Dante Exum. You have Dante Exum, and yeah, I do think we see Jaden Hardy in that role, but I think you can see him go off, and it's not just going to be him or Kyrie on the court at all times. They have a deep team guard-wise. But, yeah, he was a guy where I'm like, I wanted to put him as my number 1 or my honorable mention, but I decided not to because I went with these 2 other guys. My honorable mention is Ja Morant.
This question. What is he under pressure for? What is the pressure regarding? So I think that Luka is playoff expectations. So I think it's more regarding how will he play in the playoffs because he only had, in my mind, 1 really good series. And like you said, whether it's because of injuries or whatever, the truth is he didn't have that many good series. So he needs to prove he can. What is the pressure regarding Ja?
So to me, Ja had this high trajectory of like he was rising in stardom, and his off the court issues, as well as injuries, kind of put a pause on that rise. I think people have forgotten about him. I've certainly a guy I always forget about. Ja, I forgot about him, I would say, in the point guard video a little bit. And I do think he is a top point guard, but I have to see him show it. And for me to see him show it is just staying on the court. So the pressure is being on the court, if that means staying healthy or not doing crazy stuff off the court that gets him suspended. So that would be he's my honorable mention because of what has kept him off the court and how that has impacted his team. Because when he was on the Grizzlies, it was really him pushing that train, and they looked to be an up and coming team.
I think some of the off the court issues, I think there's some pressure to stay away from that. So yeah. I can understand it. I don't think he was in my top 5, but I get why he has some pressure. But I will say regarding the injury stuff, he doesn't have control over that. So I do wonder if the pressure is misplaced. If he is under a lot of pressure, which I don't doubt, I do think it's misplaced when it's regarding injuries and not just play.
Yeah, I understand. It's majority off the court issues, but I do think you have to factor in injuries as well, because that has kept him off the court as well and affected the Grizzlies.
I'm just saying he doesn't have control. If I get hurt, I don't know if I can prevent that. Yeah. If I'm doing everything I can to stay healthy and I hurt myself, I can't really do anything about that. That's what I'm saying. It may be a little bit misplaced in that sense, because even if he is under a lot of pressure, because he can't stop getting hurt. That can't happen.
Yeah, I think as long as he's taking precautions, that's just some things. But the major issue is focusing on basketball, not focusing on that extracurricular stuff that got him suspended. But I'll let you go into your number 1 guy now. That's why you mentioned it was he's not in your top 5. That's why I wanted to give him an honorable mention, because to me, he is under pressure given what he has done in the past and how that's affected his team and his overall view from guys. But so I wanted to mention him as a guy that has a lot of pressure.
I mentioned to you before we recorded that I had a really close top 3. So I'll mention some other guys that were really close. The guy I was really close to putting is Devin Booker. Booker is going to be, I think, leading the team, even though KD's there, even though Bradley Beal's there. It's Booker's team. He's been with the Suns for long. And last year did not go to plan. Whether it was regular season or postseason, whether it was injuries or not, it didn't go to plan. And I do think because of how much money they're spending and because of how close they've gotten before, they lost in 6 to the Bucks, there's a lot of pressure on Booker. Some of the other players I was close on. Paul George, I do think is under some pressure. I think Donovan Mitchell is under some pressure. I think Brunson is under some pressure. But my number 1 is Joel Embiid. I don't think it's particularly close for my number 1. I think 2 and 3 between Luka and Booker, I do think it's close. But I don't think it's close with Embiid. And I just said that Ja gets hurt and he can't stop that. So why am I mentioning Embiid? Embiid legitimately in playoffs is not the same player. He needs to prove that he can be that MVP level player during the postseason. They don't call the same foul calls that they call during the regular season, which means that you're going to have to get harder buckets. You're going to have to play tougher. You're going to have to hit harder shots. And so I do think that Embiid, far and away for me, is that number 1 guy.
Yeah, we're in agreement on number 1. When I was thinking of Luka as my number 1 guy, and he was your honorable mention. Devin Booker is a good choice. I was debating Jokic, but Jokic is great. It's just
Jokic has had some of the best seasons I've ever seen. Yeah. I don't think Jokic is under any pressure because he's won 3 of the last 4 MVPs, and he's not the reason why he legitimately played insane in the Timberwolves series. He was not the reason why they lost.
It's to me, I think of him, it's because of the team around him and what the Nuggets bet on young players, and it hasn't worked out, but he's been amazing. I would say another consideration that I'm thinking more is Zion Williamson. I do think he is under some pressure just to stay healthy and what his role will be with the Pelicans. But I agree. It's Joel Embiid as the number 1. It's the Sixers have put a lot into this process, and it's just what are they and what can he do? He is an MVP like type player. He has won an MVP. I'm a guy that I don't really understand the hype around Embiid, but that can be proven wrong on the biggest moments with his playoff success, which just hasn't happened. So
regarding
we're
Jokic really
agreeing.
quickly, Jokic in the Timberwolves series averaged 29, 11 and a half, and 8. So I just don't know in Boston series. I don't know what else he could do besides that. So that's kind of my point. I don't even think Jokic is underrated, at least for me.
Well, yeah, I was thinking about it, but the more I think about it, it's really just the team around him.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Porter Jr. was horrible at the end of that series, and so there's other players to blame. But yeah, I think one I don't think is really that negotiable, especially when the Paul George trade was made. If it wasn't made, I could hear arguments for Luka being one or Booker being one. But when you're trading for Paul George, that increases it to a level that I don't think any player reaches at this moment.
Yeah. So it was really the guys. I did really consider about putting Luka because this is a big season for the Mavs, but he has been to Western Conference Finals and been to a finals. Didn't play his best, but versus Embiid, who has not made it to a conference finals or even a finals in the East.
Yep.
So that concludes our list. And so the main two guys, often as honorable mention, Luka, Joel Embiid. I have Joel Embiid as my number one. My honorable mention was Ja Morant. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate you listening and be on the lookout for more episodes.